welcome to the Rise with Rosa podcast. And today we talk more on rising into our best selves. And how we can rise into our best selves is finding our inner peace. And, you know, one thing that you will notice is that all the topics about rising with ourselves, really it always comes down to the same thing. It's just saying it differently, I guess, right? And so a lot of things that I will be talking about is going to be overlapping, which I think is a good thing. And so finding our inner peace to rising to our best selves. And I have Phil here next to me. You know, he's going to be more than happy to come in on this conversation.
Oh,
but,
are you?
so finding our inner peace, and you know, everything that I share is just a combination of just tapping into that infinite wisdom through, you know, my meditations and through my personal experience, where I've, you know, it's been a blessing and a curse, but I've been able to access, you know, a level of wisdom relative to my age due to the fact that I've been through some things in my life, and how I've chosen to react and get through them is that I've turned within myself, and what that's done for me, it's allowed me to, you know, connect to that inner guidance and that wisdom, and it's really, really worked for me. And so I'm probably going to stress this in every podcast, and I know that I'm currently just putting together a video of my full story. And so again, this is just a sharing of a combination of my own personal thoughts and experience, and how I've interpreted the truth and how it's worked for me. And it has allowed me to find a lot of success with a lot of people who have struggled for many years. And you know, I've had Cole on the show, and Cole suffered a lot of trauma serving in Afghanistan. And so I've worked with a lot of people who, you know, I always say I don't treat things. I don't treat anxiety. I don't treat depression. I don't treat that stuff. What I do is that I just teach love. I teach self-love, and I teach people how to connect with their truth and connect with their own, you know, inner selves, if you will. And I teach them that tool and how they apply that, and how I facilitate that journey. It's brought a lot of success for my students. And so again, this is just me sharing, and I will have, you know, they're stories that are very real and vulnerable, and I wish I could have every student on the show, but I'm actually grateful that some have had the courage to come on the show and share their stories on how, you know, this has worked. So one of the things that I want to share is about finding your own inner peace. I think everyone can agree that the best version of ourselves is the part of us that is more peaceful, that is at peace, right? So obviously, finding our inner peace is going to contribute to us being our best selves. So that's a truth. That's something that everyone can agree with. If we're not at peace, we probably won't express our most authentic selves. And so finding our inner peace is a process of freeing our souls and seeing past the illusions of fear. Because in life, there are illusions and there are truths. You know, in Chinese medicine, they say that there's only two emotions in life. There's love and fear. And everything else is just a subcategory of it. And so there are perceptions and there are realities. So unfortunately, a lot of our unnecessary pain is caused by the illusions and misperceptions in our lives. You know, so like, how do we know what is truth and how do we know what is an illusion? Right? And so if we can really master that, and we can really identify, you know, the difference between the two. And you wonder, okay, well, how do you get to a place where you can really identify that it could really help with truly finding that peace within ourselves. And if there's only one wish that I had for this world, it would be world peace. And I believe that developing a deeper understanding and an intuitive sense to see the truth in every moment in our lives is the answer to achieving this world peace.
So you're not necessarily saying that the world should have a lack of wars. It's more to do with being inside yourself as a human being, as
Absolutely.
an individual.
Yes, because I believe that peace in this world starts with peace within ourselves. So before we try to, deliver something outside of ourselves, I think we need to start with ourselves. So I'm talking about the inner peace with the knowing and understanding that expands beyond ourselves, and it expands, to the people of the lives that we touch directly, our family, our friends, and naturally, a community, a movement, and, depending, and I do believe that how big and how much it expands is just a reflection of that expansion within yourself.
Because usually the illusion is I'm going to forward that to more powerful people. I expect other actors to figure this out, but it's you as well.
Absolutely. It's actually you only, but that's a whole other topic in itself, right? And so there's just some tips to consider that I'd like to share to help you to break through the illusions of fear and see things for what they really are, which will ultimately lead you towards a path of peace. So it'll just lead you. So if you can imagine you're driving a car, and I just made you aware of a different path. And so I'm just going to share, these tips. I'm also very aware that a lot of the topics surrounding, or a lot of the things that I talk about that's surrounding, how to find peace and all that stuff, I know a lot of it it could sound hocus pocus or too good to be true and hard to grasp. I understand that. It doesn't stop me from wanting to share it. And so I'm just asking for like an openness to just consider. And so here are some tips that I would recommend. So for a person who would say, okay, I get that, Rosa. I get that there's love and fear, and I think I'm always choosing love, but how do I know? Well, I don't know how you would know, but I'm going to share with you how I think that you can better know. And if it helps and it works, great. And I'm confident that it will if you can truly apply what it is that I'm trying to say. Okay, so the first one is to know that love is truth. So when we're seeking truth, it's important for us to allow ourselves to always see things from a place of love. So this will assure that we're not coming from a place of judgment, and judgment is what skews our perceptions of people and who they truly are at the core. And so if we can take a moment just to think about that, okay? I'm not saying anything most people don't know, right? We know that judgment is not love.
No.
And so if we can agree and accept that love is truth, and we have the intention to see truth, and we know that judgment is not love, it's a basic formula to understand that the intention has to be that we can't come from a place of judgment, is what I'm saying. We have to be able to recognize, and we have to be able to have the self-awareness and recognize if we're in a place of judgment. And if we are, anything we see, anything we choose to perceive cannot be trusted. You can't trust that information. So if we're not in a place of love, rather than having a story about what is happening, just accept the fact, you know what? I'm in a place of judgment right now. I'm really angry. I'm in this place where I need to label things because this is how I feel. But don't act on it. No,
because it's a product of your fear.
It's a product of your fear, exactly. And so just know that before anything, we just need to get ourselves in a place of love. Okay? And when we're in that place, we see from that place. Okay? The next thing, and it all kind of blends into each other, but the next thing would be to trust in love. Trust that love is the answer to everything. So when we act on something, we need to pull our full faith into something, or else we will never be validated with what we believe in. And so it's like in anything. You can't be 1 foot in and 1 foot out. If you're going to start a business, you can't kind of try it, because that's going to affect the results. You can't kind of be in a relationship. That's going to affect the quality of the relationship. You're either in and you're out, and whatever you choose, there's no right or wrong, but it's just about being all in. And so if the intention is truly to connect with love, it can't be conditional where it's like, I'll see from a place of love this time, but this time I won't. Or whatever, right? It's about understanding that if we're seeking to see truth, we're seeking to see more love, then we need to fully trust in love, because it will be challenged. And to get stronger or better at anything. It's when we're challenged. So to access greater love, how we're going to get to that point where we can come from a greater love is in the moments when we're challenged to. So if we think of other things that what love is, so love is patient. Well, to grow in patience and to become better at being patient, we need to be challenged with experiences that trigger us to be impatient. Right? And so if we can just trust in love, because that trust will be challenged in hard times, if we can just remember to trust in love, we will connect closer to being able to see the truth. Another thing, the third one, will be to be the light in the darkness. Again, it all ties in. I'm actually saying all the same thing. It's actually one big point, but I'm using different words. So at some point, we're all going to be darkness in need of some light. So, there are times in my life where, I've gone through things and it felt like I just didn't feel like I was myself. I feel like I had lost myself. I was aware that I lost myself. I just didn't know how to access her. And so I would describe it as this being a dark, like I couldn't be for someone in those moments. And what's beautiful is that everyone goes through their different, phases in life. And so what's beautiful is that we're actually never alone. When we're in that darkness, if we allow ourselves to be open, we'll always have, people who are maybe in their light because they're in the phase of their life where they're in their light. And so, that if so long as we're open, we can pull ourselves out of that darkness. And so if we can recognize in a moment where we are in our lives, and if we can recognize, if we're able to say, I'm in a place of light, I'm in a good place today. Let's try not to deny that light to others, and when
because it's easy to shoot people down for no reason.
Absolutely. And sometimes we see the illusion that there is a reason, right? So it's like, well, I have a reason. They're an a-hole. You know what I mean? And so, well, is that the illusion or what? Because you're in such a place of light that you can't resonate with a certain behavior. And so, or maybe that behavior is just showing something within yourself. And again, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah,
but
you fear that you're not in the light yourself, so you try to make up an excuse that you are.
Yeah, and so whatever it is, it's just important to acknowledge where you're at and what role you're playing in a situation. And so in the moments that we can be the light, just be it. And how is, it comes back to the first one, is just don't judge or have an opinion or label another person when they do something that seems wrong. Just acknowledge it as pain and send compassion. And, time is finite, so you need to value your time. So I'm not saying give your time to these people, right? I'm just saying that as you move with the ebb and flow of life, and we all know that we can't control our environment. We can't confine ourselves in areas where life is perfect, right? We're managing our lives where we carry our stories and our experiences with other people who have their stories and experiences. So accepting the fact that we're going to interact with people, and we're going to be put in situations where, something may happen outside of us that we don't like and we don't agree. And in the moment that we acknowledge it, just check in with yourself to see where your mind goes with that. And if you have that bit of extra time because you've filled up your bucket and you've been filled by your bucket, but with, from the blessings in your life and the great people in your life, and all of a sudden you have this one interaction with someone, rather than just labeling them, or rather than just, labeling them as negative or toxic, just do yourself and them a favor and just don't do anything. But at least, you don't have to do anything, but at least just don't label them. You haven't gathered enough information to know everything about what's going on with them. And if you don't have the time to do that, that's fine. But at least don't give your thoughts about them enough credibility, because there's not enough information that's been gathered. If anything, if you're in a position to kindly bring awareness to that person, to save them the judgment of others that will drive them into deeper patterns, then do it. Otherwise, just at the least, just don't label them. Just be a light for them. Because I can tell you right now, what happens is that how you naturally want to react to these people is likely a reaction that they receive from everyone. And what saddens me is that that person, in a world where they perceive it, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, they perceive those judgments. It's very hard to come out of that darkness. They don't stand a chance. And so if we can recognize that we're actually contributing to their behavior and take a little bit of responsibility, just, and that responsibility is not to make us wrong, is if we can allow ourselves to say, oh, you know what, I'm responsible here. It is my responsibility to make them aware or to not judge them and to be a light. If we can accept responsibility, then we'll do something about it. And so that's the only reason why I'm saying that we need to take responsibility, not to make us wrong, but it just then directs us in a different way in how we move forward with that. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, and then the fourth one, again, it's all saying the same thing, is to, actually I have 5, but is to be you. So how we choose to react to a person's way of being is a reflection of us. So don't let other people's pain or imperfections or stories take you away from being who you are. Just choose to be a reflection of love and hold space for those acting from a place of fear. It's actually going to heal you and the other person. I promise. Because what we're experiencing is just a reflection of what we're choosing or allowing ourselves to believe.
But how would you say to someone who will say that, I'm being me and I'm providing my opinions as a result? Well, how do you tell someone who uses fear as their identity?
Yeah. So, you know what? And the question I would ask is this person aware that that's what they're doing? So then I would be the light in the situation and say, okay, I hear you and I see why you feel that.
It's easy to say, this is my opinion and thus I'm me as a result.
Yeah. So, but if they're saying, and I'm coming from a place of fear, so if they've identified that they are coming from a place of fear, then they're pretty much saying that they are playing the role of the dark. Now, if they say, no, I'm coming from a place of love for myself because I shouldn't have to deal with that and that's not fair to me, I agree as well. Because we need to have boundaries, and that's what I'm saying, is that we need to set those boundaries so that we can stay the light that we are and protect ourselves, absolutely. And so we don't really have to give our time to these people. But if a situation crosses your path and it's happened to you, where you didn't ask for it, despite all your boundaries.
You've got judgment on your way.
Yeah, you got, it's just a reaction. It's a thought process that happens within a split second in your mind. And in that split second, if those moments happen, 30 times a day, that's 30 seconds a day where you got pulled out of being, who you are. And the reason why it's actually triggering you, why you have an opinion, is because it's not making you happy. No. And so, stay happy. And to stay happy, you need to be in a love, judgment-free zone. It's just is what it is. So, but again, it's all based on like the situation. I would have to see what a person's saying. But if I notice that they're really coming from a place of judgment, and I'm not trying to make them right or wrong, so you can see how everyone can keep contradicting themselves.
It's easy how they people would settle with one sort of fact. It's like your insert a label here, and all of a sudden you can settle with your own self.
Totally.
And almost as if you've got a false light.
Yes.
As if thus I've completed this. I've figured this out.
Yes. Yes.
Even though it has nothing to do with the actual truth or you being you.
Yes, absolutely. And also recognizing too that, I'm not saying to be in denial either of what you're seeing. It's just that, are you sure that what you're seeing is that person's an a-hole, or can you go a little deeper and recognize that person's in pain? If people's actions and behaviors were expressed through cuts and wounds, when a person is cut open and they have an open wound and they're bleeding, their guts are spilling, and they're like, oh, like I'm dying, and they're like, there's this like scene where it's just obnoxious, right? You're going to reach out and be like, oh my God, are you okay? You're going to give them a towel, or, when we drive by an accident, we're like, we always want to look and we're worried, right? But you take away the blood and the organs and the guts, and it's just being expressed emotionally and with behavior.
Then people would have a different view.
All of a sudden see it differently, right?
It's not in front of your face.
It's not in front of your face. And so do we need, there was actually an awesome commercial I remember where there was like this homeless, it was an adult, they were homeless and everyone walked by, and then they did another scene where there's a baby sitting there and someone stopped and grabbed the baby. So it's like, what we're seeing with our eyes as an adult acting like a child or an adult acting, out of, behavior kind of thing.
Right, we're passing someone judgment as a result of that.
Yes, because they shouldn't be that way. Mm-hmm. And so if we need to be creative and try to see them as just a child where, because that's what we are, we all have that child in us. Mm-hmm. But if we can just see emotional pain the way we would, and react to it the way we would see physical pain, and see it as a vulnerability, it just might allow us to have, those split seconds where we all of a sudden went to judgment, where we can just, it might allow us to just shed a little bit of light within ourselves and them. And that's all I'm really saying. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying to put your time into it. I'm not saying, it's just that we are here to serve, and it's about having a happy balance. And sometimes, another topic right there that we can talk about is like purpose. Everyone's like, I don't know what my purpose is. What's my purpose?
What's my meaning of life?
What's my meaning of life? And it's like, start with just, when things come at you, start with just being of service, because that's what purpose is. Purpose is like, what's my purpose? What am I here to serve? Mm-hmm. Well, what we're here to serve is just goodness, right? And so, in doing that, what we will experience is that, there's something about that will make us feel good about ourselves. And when we feel good, we keep wanting it, and we keep doing it, and allow that to evolve to whatever, right? Next thing you know, start a yoga studio, or you start a what do you call it, like like a community of any sort, some sort of, you start a community to
like
help
a union
people,
or a forum, or
whatever, who knows. And I'm not saying it has to go that way.
Charity.
Yeah, or what it may serve for you is that your purpose is to have balance in life. But that's what balance is that to enjoy your life and to enjoy it with the people that you enjoy it with. Mm-hmm. And in the midst of you, having to share this planet with people who may not have it figured out like you do, give them something, send them a treat, give them something at least, right? And give them some hope, and leave knowing that you're in balance, that there's a happy balance between serving and living your own happiness. And that's really all that I'm actually saying. So
trusting in love.
Yes.
Being from the light.
Yes. Love is the truth. Know that love is truth. Trust in you. Be the light in the darkness. Be you. And the other thing is just to know that truth comes full circle. Truth will always come full circle. It always comes down to love. And if we don't see this in the first half of our lives, we will start to understand this in the second half. Because what life is about, it's just really about surrendering to the simple fact to just be love. To just come from a place of love, and just really, that's what all the lessons of our life is about. And so there's so many good things happening in the first half of our lives, right? We're making friends, we're exploring boyfriends and girlfriends, gotta get married, gotta buy a house. There's so much things that are more self-driven that naturally happen, that to think about the depth of love and this and that, we don't have to. But in the second half of life, when we've achieved all those things, or if we're struggling to achieve those things, or we've gone through struggle, that's when we start to surrender, and we're like, oh, right? And so how much cooler would it be if we could just realize that in the first half and not have to go through the suffering, right? Mm-hmm. And just find balance in that, while still doing everything that, we desire as well. So just love comes, love and truth comes full circle. And so, same goes with relationships. If there's a relationship that's truly out of love, and it's no longer in your life, you'll find yourself constantly, it'll come back somehow. And so basically, when we can just accept those 5 points and just sit with it, don't try, don't try to be those things, but just be curious about it, allow it to penetrate a little bit, and just see if you notice anything change within your own inner peace, within your own self and what you feel. So that's kind of what I wanted to share with you today. So anyways, if you guys have any questions, if you have any comments, you can just email me at rosa@risemindbody.com. You can check me out on my Instagram at Rosa, Rise with Rosa, or my website at risemindbody.com, or the Instagram at risemindbody. And until then, choose to rise. Thank you for listening.